Hey, what's up, guys? You know me, man. I always want to cover the underdogs of World War II. Not just the weapons, but the countries. Of course, the aircraft of aces. These are kind of more specialized Osprey books. And of course, what do you have here? Italian aces of World War II. I'll just read from the back here. Right, the authors here: Giovanni, Massimello, and Giorgio, Apostolo. Although a lot of credit, of course, as usual, to the illustrators of these books. The painted artwork, Richard J. Carauna. I'll definitely gonna put credits. All right. The Italians were junior partners of the Axis alliance. Okay, although operating less capable aircraft than the Luftwaffe, right? Of course, the Regia Aeronautica, right? The Air Force, and then of course the RSI version after the split produced over 100 pilots who qualified as aces by scoring 5 or more kills. Right? Majority of these individuals claimed their victories in 41 to 43. And of course, some of the most vicious battles to come were after the armistice, okay, where more Italians were bombed and killed after the armistice than before. So they mentioned the aircraft, the Mach, excuse me, 200, 202, the 205, Fiat, the G50, and even the biplane. Italian pilots were recognized by their Allied counterparts as brave opponents hampered by undergunned and underpowered equipment. Isn't that always the story? But it's just a great, it gives you the setup, always great photography and illustrations, two things that I really enjoy here. Another little the intro. Right. Of course, remember the Goodrich stuff, as horrific as things were for the Japanese and the Germans after the war, it's always a little weird for the Italians because they were not as devastated. Although I will go over the bombing campaign. So luckily, incendiary bombs didn't really work too well on stone, but they sort of had a different kind of wound. They had basically a civil war, right? The RSI and the South, which was the puppet state. Depends who wins, huh? It was kind of a lot of bad blood, and it's sort of affected because most of these pilots, when they fought on, so with some exceptions, they fought on with the RSI. Right? And of course, recognizing the aces now, of course, claims versus the thorough who shot down who. Maybe I shot down this bomber with a friend of mine or whatever. You know how it is. You're only approximating things. You can't approximate courage and risking your nut. Right. The case in point was the official treatment of the airmen who had fought alongside the Germans after the armistice. Right. Far from making a political choice, some did. Some would just found themselves on the northern side of the front line. There was a lot of bad blood, particularly those men who fought for them. The ones who survived were sort of kicked out, but they were slowly brought back in. It's funny, how that works, right? Knowing full well the hopelessness in pursuing a lost war, these individuals continue to fight gallantly in defense of northern Italian skies. And these unquestionably brave pilots were effectively put on trial and expelled from the post-war Air Force. And amongst them are some of the most successful aces of the war. So, it's just interesting in the terms of the research of these two men. This is 24 years ago they did this book. Anyway, just the usual intro. They give the backgrounds. I didn't know anything about the planes they had. Many of the early aces fought in the Spanish Civil War with the Fiat. What is it? The 42. What is that? It's a King Kong plane. It's a biplane. Obviously, many of the Italian pilots preferred these. Open cockpit, very maneuverable, nowhere near as fast as the monoplanes. Many of them didn't like the cockpits. Many of them were like, no, I don't want, they were kind of resistant to it, but you sort of had to adjust because the Allied planes were outperforming you more and more. Yeah. And also, they bring up the Italian aviation industry proven compatibility of its products. Okay? In reality, these successes only serve to delay the implementation of proper techniques. Right? By and large, designers and builders were proud of their artisan productions. Right. So the artisanal thing versus the industrial capacity. You're dealing with the difference in culture. With modest industrial infrastructure, to say the least, most of it being in the north. Anyway, just going on. I can't go through all of this. It's a pretty detailed book. It's recommended, of course. Right. The different campaigns. They actually had some guys attack Britain in the Battle of Britain with the CR-42. So, very maneuverable. All these dudes, daring young men. Right? And they actually, in the early campaigns, they scored kills. They scored kills. So, of course, East Africa, very interesting, little known campaign. A lot of interesting things about that. Western Ethiopia, Gondar. I always thought that was a cool name, right? No fewer than 7 Italian aces were created during the East African fighting. Right, went on for 18 months. So, of course, North Africa, whatever. You want to sort of do the overview here. Now they're converting to the Maquis, right? The 200 is like this. I always thought, look at that. It's kind of cool. The thing in the front, very stubby looking. Of course, these look more the 202s. Look more like what you're thinking of, like a Spitfire or a Messerschmitt. Of course, the cool Italian camouflage. Very interesting. They're playing these camouflage. They do. Go through the units, right, where they fought. I don't want to skim through here. I want to focus on the men. Although, the aces, right? My man got a bomber, that's right. I'm going to start going over the individuals, I want to give a shout out to this dude. The only official that is recognized non-pilot ace of the Air Force was this here. What's that? Pietro Bonanini. So there's a gunner. But float planes, the ones with the pontoons. Took down eight planes with his machine gun. Good job, Paisan. And you go here in East Africa, you see the different the aces. A lot of them through attrition. How these guys didn't survive, as you can imagine. Like early on, like this guy here, took down like Blenheims, Wesleys, Gladiators. Like these are, they're more of a match for these planes. He actually died saving a comrade, trying to help a comrade in bad weather. He didn't even die in combat, so. And go over, and of course, we'll just go over the color plates. These beautiful painted Osprey artwork. You see the CR-42s. You see the biplanes. You see the cool camo they have. You see how, we got a monoplane. You gotta be in a cockpit. Okay, you can't do crazy maneuvers. You need speed, my friend. So you got the Maki 200s. You got the 202s. Now this looks something more like more streamlined. Of course, Fiat made the G50 was kind of like the 200, and of course they started making their own more streamlined looking planes. But just beautiful. I like just nice, man. Really. Just look at I don't know. It's just nice. They're nice to look at. Of course, after the armistice, some of them are equipped with the Messerschmitts. The Italians made these. They weren't able to produce these anywhere near how even the Germans were, as messed up as the German industry was at that point. So, and the 205, this was a cannon equipped. Right? Finally, most of these planes are still a little slower than their counterparts and their enemies. A little less gun, a little less firepower. But you start getting stuff like this. This was a nice plane. This was also a really nice plane. The Fiat 55. In fact, they were even thinking about maybe this might even be even better than the Messerschmitt. There's still a controversy, but regardless, the machine. Let's go to the men. And you see some of these guys, especially, if you can imagine North Africa and, of course, fighting the bomber campaign in their homeland. The highest ranking dude, the highest scoring pilot. All right, he joined the co-belligerents. Listen, at this point, I'm not gonna go over that. You know who the men that fought on against the people that are bombing your people, killing your people, killed your comrades. You're gonna turn around and help them, whatever, man. Every man makes his choice. So I'm not saying the Germans were the easiest to get along with. I can imagine, The guy's like, look at this dude. He looks like, hey, he's just chilling. So, this guy, also he died before the armistice, but he had a pretty good, a pretty good command. Let's look at some of the victories he had, right? In North Africa, 4 Kitty Hawks, right? Spitfires, 2 Hurricanes, a Boston, another P-40, okay, fighting over here, before the armistice, fighting the bombers. The P-38 Lightnings, and they were able to escort the B-17s. And then he was killed, right? It lost its 2nd and 3rd ranking aces in a single mission, right? The attrition that was taking the toll on the Germans was taking a toll on them. The bombing. So this guy here too, very serious looking dude. The least well known, right? They had great success, but they suffered heavy losses. He fought in North Africa. He was one of the first guys with the 200, the Mach 200s when he returned, right? Got a hurricane, claimed a bunch in North Africa, like 6 hurricanes in North Africa, and a Blenheim. I don't know what a Blenheim is. Down AP-40s and a Spitfire over the next 5 months. He shot a P-38, another P-38, and he was shot down. Yeah, he got one of the bombers though. He got one of the B-17s. Nice. He got jumped by a bunch of Spitfires. Did I mention these guys are outnumbered? Oh, they were always outnumbered. North Africa, they were always outnumbered still. This guy actually, interesting dude. From a family that made liquor, sort of like a sports car, a young playboy. But this dude was no joke. Right. He became. But then he added 6 B-17s and B-26 to his tally during the interception missions before the armistice. Very cool, very cool. So, and he died tragically in the 70s with his son in an accident. It's dangerous. You go up there, it's dangerous. I don't want to pass over any of these aces. There's so many good guys. Some of the guys who survived, right here, mentioned to this guy here. This guy, what a mad lad. I like this dude. He actually got captured at the end of the North African campaign. Captured, made prisoner, and after a series of adventures, he escaped from the British camp and returned home. Good for you, Paisan. Good for you. The home defense. Now this is where you're now getting bombed. The bombing campaign did a number on the Italian morale as well, obviously. Luigi Corini. Yeah, he got a lot here. He joined, he fought on. 19 victories, maybe even 24. Very cool. This guy, Giuseppe, my man was in the Eastern Front. Imagine flying one of those CR-42s with no cockpit in the cold weather. Right, appalling conditions. The open cockpits of the C-200s prove unsuited to the freezing weather of the Russian winter. Vajana Gutsavid. But he did a number here. So, and like a lot of guys in the East, when they came back, they continued to fight on. So, of course, they're defending here the homeland. You got a B-17 and 3 P-38s. Everyone acts like the P-38 was like this super weapon. Plenty of them got taken out by the Axis dudes. He was expelled from the Air Force after the war, right? By the 50s, the allegations of his collaboration with the Germans have been dispelled. Come on, man. Scanti is another guy, the home defense. This one in particular, I'll just end it with him. Of course, this guy, Ugo Drago, my man. So, good job. And he went to Argentina with his comrades, too. You got some nice victories here, but this man, just to end this, these brave dudes, Adriano Visconti, defending, the usual guy, right? Fought different, North Africa, had a lot of experience, fought in Sicily when things started to go south, literally. And he took a buddy of his, to fit, one man fighting, he fit his buddy in to squeeze him to help him escape, to avoid capture in North Africa. And he got the 205, I think he fought the 205s. Anyway, support of the ANR, took command, right? Credited with 4 kills, 2 P-38s, 2 P-47s. They had to surrender. Negotiated an honorable surrender. Okay? It was murdered by partisans in Milan. Literally right the same day. They also killed his comrade here, his adjutant. Right? A lot of these guys, honorable surrender. He got shot in the back. Yeah. Partisans. Anyway. Always the war. Yeah. Brave dudes. Yeah, good. Later.